participate in the discussion and just see how it goes.
Yeah, so Rob will just kind of keep things moving forward. Everybody who is joining right now is automatically on mute, but if you would like to ask a question or chat or whatever, please feel free to unmute yourself and jump in. We also took some questions via Instagram and we sent it out to our newsletter. We figured there'd be some people that wouldn't be able to join. It's kind of late over here on the East Coast. So we can go over some of those too. And we were asked to record it. I think they're going to put it live at a different point. So we'll have it up there. So again, thanks everybody for jumping in and joining us, especially if you're in Europe or on the East Coast. Yeah, let's get going. Rob, did you want to kick off the global denim hang?
Yeah, sure. And by the way, there's no like real sort of protocol. If there's a pause in the discussion, feel free anybody to just ask a question. I think there's enough. It's kind of small enough we can do it that way for now. But yeah, so we're doing this part as part of the Global Denim Hang, which really is uniting the global denim community virtually instead of in person. So I think the first question to you, either of you, Andrew or Johan, is what does being part of that community mean to you?
When we talked about this question, the first thing that came to mind was how nice it is to have something in common with people all around the world when traveling. So oftentimes I'll be in some random city in some random part of the world, and we'll either have a conversation with someone about the jeans I'm wearing or they're wearing, or they know about 3SIXTEEN and we can talk about that. And that common interest with someone that may be very different from you or live in a culture that's very different than yours is always a nice thing that makes the world feel a little smaller. So it's cool to see so many people joining from all around the globe in this little chat.
Yeah, it's to kind of echo what Johan was saying. It's kind of cool whenever, I mean, we haven't been able to travel for a little bit, but in the past when we've traveled for work and we would go and visit a retailer, or we'd be in Tokyo and meeting up with our mill, and we were posting on Instagram or on stories. Inevitably, if this was somebody's hometown that was into jeans and followed the brand, they would just chime in and let us know, hey, while you're here, you cannot miss a meal at this place. Or if you need a really good cup of coffee, because they know we love coffee, they'll pop in and let us know where to go. Sometimes we'll meet up at a retailer or to catch a bite to eat. And that's really fun too. Another thing that's really cool is because Johan and I are both partners in two of the Self-Edge stores. He heads up LA and I head up New York. We've had the opportunity of meeting a lot of you guys face to face, either just informally stopping by the store, or we've also had the opportunity to host more formal meetups. I think our LA shop has hosted the LA folks, and Self-Edge New York has had some people come through as well. Just a nice little spot for people to get together. I don't know, with other niche interests of mine, a cool shop is usually the place where people can kind of all get together. Might be a record store. I used to build cars, and so we would always have meetups where people, if someone was coming in from out of town, you'd be like, well, we have to go here and we have to go here and we have to see these people. And you can kind of like bring them around and introduce them to people in your town that you really like. And it's just, for us, it's nice to have physical spaces and homes where people can feel comfortable and come by, and you know, for people to feel like this is my spot, is pretty special for us. And you know, I think for LA, I think that's happened for sure. Some of you might know we're working on a New York flagship, which was actually supposed to open in the beginning of May, and is still, you know, in progress. And we can talk more about that later. But, you know, for me, I'm excited for it, you know, despite all the challenges that we're going through right now. I'm excited, you know, when it can happen and when it's safe, and when we feel like the time is right, that it can be a place where, you know, if you're if you live in New York City and you're in town, you're in the neighborhood, you just come by. And if you're from out of town, it'll be a special place for you to come visit. And yeah, we love meeting people from out of town. So yeah, thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah, thanks. And for those of you who joined after we started, you know, Andrew and Johan, and I'm Rob. I'm helping to kind of keep this moving. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to pipe up. Otherwise, we have a few that were submitted in advance.
Or just hi. You could do that too.
Or just say hi, yeah. And actually on that topic, so one of the ones we did get before was, hey, 316, how are you? And then there's a lipstick emoji. I don't know what that means.
I don't know who it is. So the lipstick emoji could mean any number of different things.
Was it from a guy or a girl?
I believe it was a girl. So I don't know. You've been going through it the hour leading up to the Zoom, Johan. Why don't you chat about that?
Yeah, I've been following the news all day, which isn't always the healthiest thing to do for one's mental. But there was a meetup in Pan Pacific Park, which is not far from South Edge, LA, starting at noon. And they sort of made their way over to Fairfax, which is the opposite direction from South Edge. But things are a little crazy in LA right now. They imposed a curfew at 8, but there's a fair amount of looting going on. So just sort of keeping an eye on the news and seeing where the crowds are heading. And it's very strange to see businesses that you frequent being tagged up or having garbage cans out front lit on fire, or God forbid having being broken into and being looted. So it kind of especially got crazy in the past hour. So I was following the news and had our security camera feeds up and just making sure that everything's okay. But so far it is, for us at least. So we're thankful for that.
Yeah. I'm good. I think everybody has to be answering this question all the time whenever you talk to someone you haven't talked to in a little bit. Just like, how are you? Are you good? And you can kind of diffuse it and just be like, yeah, everything's fine. Or you can open up and be honest with where you're at. And I'm working on that. I'm trying to do a little better with that. And the truth is, yeah, I just feel a little bit of weight right now. New York City is exploding. And it's just crazy. And I think all of us, at least here in America, but globally, people are following along all around the world. We've had a week, and we've had a 2020. It's been a heavy one so far. So yeah, you know, I think we worry for, you know, ourselves and our friends and our businesses, but we also are really, really saddened by where we are as a country. And you know, I know for many businesses and many brands, it's probably best to separate how you personally feel emotionally about politics from your work. But for better or for worse, I think it's better. I think customers are demanding a little bit more accountability from the owners of the brands that they put their money into and that they support, and they want to know where they stand on things. And more, it's I guess it's becoming more difficult for people to just kind of hide behind the let's just we're okay to take your money, but we don't really want to tell you where we stand personally. And that's really not something that I think Johan or I have ever really felt uncomfortably about. Maybe it's, worked to our brand's detriment at times. But, we're worried for our country. We're worried for our friends who are Black. And we're always thinking. So yeah, it's been heavy. But as for me and my family, we're healthy. And that is something to be really, really grateful for. New York City was wild these past 2 months, like nothing we've ever seen. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen some crazy things in your hometowns as well. So yeah, I'm thankful that everybody in our house can breathe normally, and that we have food to eat, and that we're able to stay home and be safe. So that's where I'm at.
Is there anything that's kind of given you strength or sort of inspired you during all this darkness around us?
Yeah, I mean, I have friends who are frontline responders, and the one thing that they wanted their friends to know early on was that, like, it's for real. Like what people are telling you about how crazy it is in the ER, it's for real. And we are, it really does feel like a war zone, and we're doing everything that we can. And that is super encouraging and inspiring. They put themselves in harm's way to help others. Yeah, and then other folks who are essential in the sense that they serve people who need help right now. So people who I know at the Bowery Mission who are serving a huge wave of homeless people in downtown New York. They haven't shut down. As we all probably know, people who are poor, who have no home and no place to stay clean or to shower, a pandemic is going to rip through in pretty heavy ways. So I'm inspired by that. That they have a tall task, and they just get to work every day. Yeah, people stepped up for sure. You saw it, and at least where I'm at, and I'm sure where you guys are at too, people worked hard, and they thought about others first, which is cool.
Johan, anything to add?
I mean, I think personally, we have a lot to be thankful for, despite everything that's going on. And so we've been trying to remind ourselves as a family how fortunate we are to be able to spend time together. It's a little crazy to spend 24 hours a day with your 2 young boys and wife and be holed up in the condo, but my sons are having the time of their lives being at home and having their parents home all the time and being with each other. And so the bright side of things amidst all the sad news and everything that's going on is there may not be another time where we will spend this much time together as a family. My younger son's a year and a half, a little over a year and a half. So his development is pretty exponential right now. So he's changing every day and learning new things every day. Normally, we wouldn't see him for a large part of the day when we're at work and he's at home with the nanny. So those sorts of things are the silver lining and um, the nice part of a rather difficult situation.
Yeah, definitely. You get to spend lots more time with the people you spend a lot of time with already, right? That's a good thing too. Okay, so I'm just gonna, unless anybody has any questions here, go to another one that was submitted earlier. And this is going way back, so somebody wanted to know um, what made you start the brand and specialize in denim. And I think those are really two different questions. But you guys want to kind of summarize for those who aren't familiar with that?
Yeah. So for those who don't know, the brand is, what is it, 17 years old now. So it started in 2003. When it started, our focus was on graphic T-shirts. We were not trained in fashion, and I think I had met Johan a few months after starting the brand with a former business partner, and we connected pretty quickly because we were, you know, into the same thing. So, like, you know, when we talk about a shared interest in denim amongst all of us, for Johan and I, it was, you know, like pretty quickly, you know, we realized we were into the same kind of music, and we're all into streetwear. But streetwear was a different term back then. It referred to, I guess, small, you know, brand owned, like single person owned, underground brands. A lot of it was hip hop influenced. A lot of the T-shirt messages were political or social in nature. They were sold at independent stores. There were very few of those stores. And so it's just kind of like seeing somebody on the street in a band, in an obscure band that you're also into. If you were in, and Johan was in SF at the time, and I was in New York City. If you saw somebody with a 10 Deep shirt on, you kind of knew that he knew what was up. And yeah, as we grew the brand, we realized that in order to, you know, widen our scope, we had to make, you know, more kinds of clothing. So the first thing after that was a jacket, and then a button-down shirt, and then a sweatshirt. But 2008 was when we first tried to put together our full head-to-toe collection, which was shirts and jackets and sweatshirts. And we even had a footwear collaboration with Quadi Trail. They make hand-sewn moccasins in Maine. And jeans were a part of that lineup. And honestly, I kind of want Johan to talk about the denim side of it, because I feel like he really took the lead on that.
Yeah, with the jeans, when we first started developing the jeans, it was going to be another piece in the collection, but I wanted to pay special attention to it just because I was just starting to learn a little bit more about selvage denim. A lot of it was through our business partner, Kia. He had opened Self Edge in San Francisco in 2006. And so I was just starting to get into some of these Japanese brands that had never been available in North America before. And although I knew that we didn't have the expertise or the factory connections or the mill connections to make anything to that level, I thought we could make something that was a pretty strong offering in terms of the American market and what other American brands were offering. You know, over the years, it started off with an okay product, not a great product by any means, but the nice thing about the denim collection is we've been able to really work at it over the years and continue to improve things that we see about the jeans that could get better. This is a portion of the core collection that I work on that I really enjoy is being able to constantly tweak and improve some of the things that we see could get better, that you really only would recognize with time, with customers wearing the product or by wearing the products yourselves. And so we were fortunate that that the jeans did really well right from the beginning. I think it really cemented this sort of ethos in developing new products for us, that the product either has to be a lot better than what's available on the market, or it has to be at a comparable quality, but at a price that's more competitive, or design-wise, it needs to be really different than what else people can find on the market. And so for the jeans, I think we're offering a quality at a price point that was really attractive to people. So they weren't as good as some of the best Japanese jeans, but they also were a significant amount cheaper. And so it really became a strong sort of entry-level product, especially when Kia started carrying the jeans at Self Edge in San Francisco. It was the only American-made brand, and it became a really strong stepping stone for people who weren't ready to stomach the price tag of some of the Japanese brands, but still wanted to get into a better pair of jeans than what they were used to. So that's how it started. And then a few years in of doing full collection, at that time it was still just Andrew and I, we sat down and took a tough look at the books and how much work we were putting into developing, designing, sampling, going to trade shows, doing wholesale, fulfillment. I don't think we had our own web store yet at that point, but we were still shipping to wholesale accounts. We were burning out, and it was also very tough financially being self-funded to spend so much money developing a full collection every season. So we made the tough decision to peel back everything else, get rid of everything else, and just focus on jeans, and focus all of our resources on making jeans, both our time resources and also our financial resources. And so we stopped making everything else for a couple of seasons, at least, maybe a couple of years, and we just made jeans. We tried to keep them in stock as much as possible. And then from there, as the company became healthier, because the jeans were doing so well for us, we were able to grow back into a full collection and do some of the other categories and products that we really enjoy doing.
Cool. And one of those things in terms of differentiating yourself on the market is you do custom denim with Kuroki Mills, right? And you've been doing that for a while. Can you maybe talk a little bit about how that process works? Like, how do you actually go about making custom denim, and sort of why it makes sense?
We were really fortunate that we were able to secure that early on. And I think that that was huge for us to be able to separate and differentiate our jeans from other jeans. We were introduced to Kuroki through our relationship with Ironheart. From traveling to Japan to buy for Self Edge, we were able to develop that relationship. And the biggest sticking point in developing a custom denim is the yardage minimum generally for small brands. Usually, well, I guess it changes and things are different now, but at that point in time, it was a 10,000 yard minimum, which is a lot of money and a lot of pairs of jeans, much more than we were selling at any one time. And so normally for a brand of our size at the time, there would be no way that we would be able to take on 10,000 yards. And it was because they allowed us to develop the denim, but then take it in partial shipments, that we were able to design our own fabric and be able to offer a custom fabric for a very, very small brand at the time. It was huge for us.
That was scary.
The bills are still scary, but at that point they were especially scary. They were like life-changing bills.
Yeah. I think like one fabric bill would be more than what we'd make in a year, salary wise. Yeah, it was such a long time ago, but I'm kind of glad you brought it up, Rob, because it was something that. So one thing that really pushed us to start thinking about fabric differently was again our involvement in self-edge, and Kia would tell us all the time, you know, this brand or this jean model, the fabric was made for the jean, and that was like hard for us to wrap our heads around at first. Like, what do you mean? That seems so inefficient, and I think our opportunity to be involved with the shop and to be around product that was well made and inspiring and exciting helped us to dream a little bigger. And yeah, and it was a enormous risk for us to take. I don't think we knew really what we were getting ourselves into, but it was a risk for the mill too. You know, I don't think that's something that they were accustomed to doing, you know, running the minimum yardage and then holding some of it with the hopes that we would come back and buy it. And so it obviously worked out for them as well. So we're thankful all the way around for that. And it's, you know, that was I think our first run of like V3, because our 100X denim, we had two Kaihara runs before we got to our custom Kuroki. So our first V3 100X run was like 2010, 2011. So, I mean, it's been the exact same fabric for almost 10 years. And it's definitely at the point, you know, a few years in, like you saw a faded pair and you didn't have to look for any of the distinguishing features, and you would know exactly that it was our fabric. And that's one of my favorite parts about having our own denim. You know what it looks like over time. Yeah. Any of you guys have questions? We've got some, you know, Rob's got some lined up, but we want to hear from you guys.
Somebody's been messaging me one privately rather. So I think I'm going to ask it on his behalf. So he wants to know about Viberg and your collaboration there, and also if there's a chance of a sneaker collab.
First off, there is a chance for a sneaker collab. We've been asking for it for the past year on and off, and the setups are crazy, and it's just not something that's convenient for them to do. It's not like a boot where they can just throw it on the line. They have to completely change the entire manufacturing process to make sneakers. It's no small feat for them to have made a sneaker entirely in Canada and to be the only factory to do so. Having come from just only making work boots, like logging boots. But they've given us the green light to make what we want. We work pretty closely together with them. So the sneaker will happen. We're kicking a couple ideas around. But yeah, you know, we have a web store and 2 retail stores to push them through now. So I think it's a good time to have them. Yon, you want to talk a little bit about how we met Viberg and how that relationship started?
I don't really remember.
Bread and butter.
I mean, yeah, trade shows. We met through trade shows. We've been doing trade shows in Berlin for many years now. Was that the first time that we met them?
Yeah, it was him and Jin
Oh yeah.
in the corner of Lock Fire Department.
So there used to be a huge trade show in Berlin twice a year called Bread and Butter that we participated in for several years, and they had, I remember, they just always had a very alluring booth, partially because their boots are just so beautiful, but they had like baby boots one time that everybody wanted to take a picture with, and Jin, who used to work for them and went on to work for Bread and Butter. I don't know if this is one of the first conversations, but I had bought a pair of sneakers, a pair of Wings and Horns sneakers, and he had done some side designing for Wings and Horns, and he had designed that particular colorway. I was either wearing it or it came up in conversation or something like that, and that sort of their Canada connection, and that sneaker sort of became a thing that we vibed on. So I don't remember how soon after we started doing custom boots with them.
It was for our 10-year anniversary, so 2013. So before then, I think we probably met like 2011, 2012, something like that.
And we had made some boots for ourselves,
which is always how these things begin. Extremely selfishly. Yeah, he reached out and he was just like, hey, if you ever want a one-off, which obviously will never happen anymore unless you go to an MTO event. But he was like, if you want to make something, just come up with something, anything you want, and then we'll make it for you. And I think you made an icy mocha Chrome XL boot, service boot. And I think I did my first one was like that 2030 cap toe service boot. And then we wore it and we were believers. Like, it wasn't just like looking at a beautiful booth on a shelf. Like we were wearing them. I wore that boot for like 6 years. I love that boot. And our 10-year anniversary was coming up and we were trying to line up all these fun collaborations and special projects. And we were in Berlin, and I think it was like after a party, we were all, a bunch of us were like cruising to get food, and we just asked Brett while we were going to get food, like, hey, would you do boots for us? We don't have a store, we're not an account like any of your other accounts, but would you be open to doing a run of boots? And it ended up being 2 different boots for our 10-year anniversary, and I think they sold out pretty quick. I think they both did really, really well from the jump. And from that point on, we kind of knew that we were onto something good. I think what Viberg offers that no one else that we knew offered beyond just a really beautiful boot was that they made them all in-house, and they still do make them all in-house. And so you can make 20 pairs of something. You can't do that anywhere else. I guess getting to know Guy and Viberg and how much they care about their product, and how uncompromising they are with their product has been pretty inspiring for us. And also just, they've been really fun to work with. So yeah, we've partnered with them on a bunch of things. We've hosted their first like New York pop-up at our old office. We've helped them do sample sales at our LA warehouse. They've done MTO events in our LA store. They'll probably be doing stuff in our New York shop when we open up. And we just, just by virtue of, even though we're on like opposite well, Johan's not on opposite coast, but we're far from each other, you know, distance wise, but we see each other often in different cities. So it's just nice also to be able to work with people that you like personally. It's something that we really try and stick to. So it helps that the product is amazing. I still don't think that there's another product on the market that is like it, and also like creative vision wise, where they're going. But that is open for discussion. You guys can chime in and let us know if you feel differently about it.
Cool. And Preston, did you have a question you wanted to ask?
Yes, thanks, Rob. Hey, everybody.
Hey, Preston.
I'm zooming from the campus of Dallas Seminary, but two questions, they're related. Best books you've read lately, best albums you've heard lately.
The last book, I cheated. I listened to it on
Is it
Audible.
2 in 1?
Was a book written by Ethan Strauss, so I'm a really big basketball fan, and I'm from the Bay Area, so I'm a big Warriors fan. Pre-success, I always have to throw that in as a caveat. Before it was cool, and then hated to be a Warriors fan. So Ethan Strauss wrote a book that came out a few months ago called The Victory Machine. And it was basically about the last few years of the Warriors, quote unquote, dynasty, if you want to call it that, but the last few years of success, and then leading up to KD leaving. So that was pretty fascinating. And I think the takeaway from that book is that the things that these people have do not make them happy. Joe Lacob, the owner, KD, one of the best basketball players of all time, the things that they're striving for and the things that they already have are not fulfilling them for some reason or another. And so they're in search of something else, which can be the driver for them to continue to work and strive to compete and be the best at what they do. But it's also, it seems like this hole that they can't fill. So a little deep for a sports book, but that was an interesting listen, I guess. What about you, Drew? You can do books and then we'll do music.
Okay. I read it already. I'm reading it again because for some reason, even when you read something really good, you forget it very quickly. So I'm reading Bryan Stevenson's Just Mercy again. He is the founder of the Equal Justice Initiative and it's kind of a memoir. It talks about his experience with the American justice system and how dark and twisted and unfair and unjust it is, and it's gut wrenching, and I have to read it to remind myself, because I think growing up as a Chinese American, as a son of two Chinese immigrants, we just have a really messed up view of race, and I'm still trying to unpack the things that I have passively and actively learned from my parents. They're obviously kind people, and they love their family and they gave up everything for us. But their ability to make a life for themselves and the things that they've gone through oftentimes give you a perspective that maybe you're better than others, when that really isn't something that you just, nothing is completely within your hands. Like, I'll give you an example. My dad worked in the South Bronx as a recreational therapist for drug addicts for 25 years. You want to talk about a dark job where you see the worst of the worst? That was him. He wouldn't actually tell us about the things that he would see. You'd have to like wait, once every 10 years, he might give you something, I went to work with him once throughout my childhood, and it was a rough place. But I think he saw and was wounded by so much that you can go one of two directions. One, you can say like, this is, unfair and unjust. Or you can say, why don't people work harder or make better choices? And he never said those words, but I think implicitly those were things that I had absorbed over time. And so, these are things that I'm trying to unlearn and trying to understand why our country is the way that it is, and why certain people struggle more and have to fight harder. And so if any of you in this chat, I'm telling you right now how life-changing this book is. If any of you in this chat have not read it and want to read it, I will buy it for you. Send me an email, andrew@316.com. That's how much I love this book. I've bought it 8 times already for people.
Drop the title and the author in the chat so that people have it as a reference.
I love that. So that's book. That's my book. Sorry if there's like not a lot of denim chat here, guys. My bad.
I mean, I feel like the state that the world is in, especially the United States is in right now, does not lend itself to like freely chatting about clothing hobbies.
Yeah, I mean, like, we're here because we obviously have shared interests. Eric, you're here. What's up, Eric? Eric is a good friend of ours and a regular at our Los Angeles shop. So, what's up, Eric?
Hey, what's up, man? Oh, how do I do this? Can you hear me?
You're doing it. You're already doing it.
Oh, wow. This is the first time I've ever been on Zoom.
What?
Yeah.
That's
How are
amazing.
you guys? Thanks for doing this. It's really gave me something to look forward to this evening.
Oh, that's cool, man. We were joking when I sent out an email newsletter to our 316 newsletter. I'm like, if you're the one person on earth that has never used Zoom before, here's how you do it. And my man right here.
Yeah.
You had to go and download the Zoom app for the first time.
You know what? We did it for my daughter's first birthday the other day, but it was on my wife's iPad, so I didn't know. I just stood there.
Well, it's working, and you're here.
Yeah, man. That book, hey, you guys, I'm telling you, it'll change the way you look at a lot of things. I'm in an interracial marriage, and it's helped my wife see things in ways she's never seen them before, and my parent-in-laws, which are also doing some work to help just the way things are in the world.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
What's up, yo? Hey, nice to meet you, man.
Hey, good to see you.
So, Warriors, you got to be Raiders, right?
No, I didn't grow up on that side of the bay. So I grew up in the North Bay in Sonoma County.
Okay.
So I was a Niners fan
Yeesh.
and a Giants fan,
Yeah.
but the only basketball team was the Warriors. So
Yeah.
And a Sharks
I'll give you a pass.
fan.
All right, man. Thank you, guys.
All right, good to see you.
Yep.
All right, what
I'll
album
turn
is it?
What
Is
album?
it? Is it album? Favorite
Give the
album?
man one album. Just give the man one album.
I still have been listening. I always find myself going back to Igor. Came out last year. Tyler, the Creator, put it out, and I feel like he's come a long way in terms of figuring out exactly what his sound is, and not being quite as angry and trying to be as controversial as he was when he first started coming out with music. I feel like he's really come into his own identity, and I really love that album, and just a lot of the stuff that he's been doing in terms of some of his editorials and his clothing photo shoots and stuff like that. So
I'm surprised it was not Dark Lane demo tapes.
I haven't been listening to it that, I mean, truth be told, I listen to a lot of kids music. I listen to what they want to hear. So that if it's one song that I've been listening to a lot lately, it's Sunflower, because they love Into the Spider-Verse right now. But it wouldn't necessarily be I don't mind the song, but it wouldn't necessarily be my choice to listen to, like, kids bop all day.
For me, it is a album called What Kind of Music. It is by two artists from the UK, Yusuf Days and Tom Mish, and they're both coming out of this pretty amazing UK modern jazz scene. There's just like an outpouring of talent like we just haven't seen in a long time. Yusuf Days is a drummer. He made an album with another guy, Kamal Williams, a couple years ago, which you should also check out. But Yusuf got actually pulled by Virgil Abloh to play his Louis Vuitton shows the past 2 seasons, which was crazy. It kind of came out of nowhere. But he's a nasty drummer, and he did an album with Tom Mish, who is a singer and electric guitar player. And it's crazy because like it came out on Blue Note, and you know, for Blue Note to acknowledge what is happening and to, you know, put that project out is pretty monumental. It's all instrumental, a little bit of singing. There is one track with Freddie Gibbs, which is really, really good. It is a summertime top-down song. But yeah, there's a ton of great music coming out of London. I wish that I lived in London right now just so I could go see these musicians playing. So if you guys like jazz, or if you like jazz adjacent, like hip hop influence type stuff, it is very, very good stuff. Check it out.
Awesome. Great questions, Preston. Thank you. So I have a question from Peter. Unfortunately, he's not in a good place for talking right now, so I'm going to ask on his behalf. He says he's a big fan of 316, and he wants to know, how do you guys feel like your Asian American backgrounds have shaped the way you run 316?
Well, I sort of, in some ways, I feel like I have to fight my Asian American upbringing. One of the things that my parents said to me early on was like, if you guys are making jeans so good, like, how are you gonna keep a business running? Like, they're not gonna come back and buy your jeans. It doesn't make any sense. So in some ways, I feel like I'm fighting my Asian American identity a little bit. I had an interesting upbringing, because the town that I grew up in was a pretty small town. The population was 40,000 people at the time, and I was like one of maybe 3 Asian kids at my school growing up. So in my home life, it was very Chinese. And we went to a Chinese church, and my parents worked at a Chinese organization. And so, you know, I'm sure that they went entire days without ever having to speak English, even though we were living in this town. But then in my outside life, in my school life, it was completely American, and I was I was trying my hardest to be anything but Chinese. So I feel like over the years, and as I reflect back on my childhood, how it's affected my design sensibilities. I have a comfort with being different. I'm okay being the person that's not alike everybody else that's in the room. It was strange because we moved right before high school, because my parents' organization was moving and I was getting in some trouble in that small town where there was nothing to do but to get into trouble. And so we moved to a town where the high school was 50% Asian and 50% not Asian. And so when I showed up at high school, I was at a complete loss. I couldn't find my bearings because I was supposed to go naturally, like everybody expected me to go be with the Asians. But I felt more comfortable or naturally gravitated towards the non-Asians. And so it was a weird like identity crisis sort of thing. But it sort of led to, I think I have a very strong distaste for us as a company doing anything that we're not doing slightly differently, or that I feel like we're not offering a different take at. And so if somebody else has already come out with something, or we had an idea for something and somebody else already releases it, or I really dislike going down that lane. So I think it has caused me to try and find our angles as a company to where we can offer products that are a little bit different, even if I'm just like making it up in my head to allow myself to be okay with it. At the end of the day, it's a pretty standard looking 5-pocket jean, I have to admit. And the t-shirts are pretty like standard looking t-shirts. Nothing too crazy about it, but it's the fabric that we put into it and the small sewing details that I feel like, at least in my mind, set the products apart.
And also when it comes to collection, I think we're very we're very careful, or we try to be very careful. And we actually try and look through it, the lens of, does this look like this could be someone else's, you know? And do we feel like we brought enough of our own perspective to something?
I think it's interesting, before you continue with that thought, when we were a streetwear brand, when we first started and we started doing collection, our collection ended up being too expensive and also too, I guess, simple looking to sit in streetwear stores. We didn't have logos over everything. We didn't have like large graphics on our cut and sew. And so naturally we had to find stores where the cut and sew fit into. So in the early stages of the company, we sort of didn't fit into the world that we were in. And then as we started developing our core collection, and the jeans started really taking off, we also didn't really sit in the heritage world. Like, a lot of that is purposeful. It's not, we love vintage and we love that look, but it's not us. And it's definitely not us to dress head to toe that way. Going back to the first question that we talked about, it's really interesting when you go to Japan or you go to Europe, the way that people wear our jeans, because it's oftentimes very different from what we envisioned for it, or the way that a lot of Americans wear it. And so even now, I think always in the back of our minds is, what are our peers doing, and what can we do that's a little bit different from that, and what can we do to make sure that we're not pigeonholed in this one look or one category.
I love that. Yeah. It's like, how do you stand out, right?
Yeah, I think that this is a tangent, but kind of going off what Johan's saying, like I've always been surprised and impressed by how people take a 5-pocket jean of ours and make it their own and work it into their own sense of style. And you know, like you said, in Europe, it's very, very denim heavy shops, so they wear it a certain way. It's always with a flannel and with rugged boots. And then we have shops in the US that are like that. And then we have some that are a little bit more on the fashion side. And then we just look at our customers. Some of them are wearing them with sneakers. Some of them are wearing them with boots. Some people like, you know, that's why we have so many different cuts. You know, we have an NT jean, which, you know, which tapers pretty heavily, and you can wear that a certain way. And then, you know, strangely, there are a lot of customers that are clamoring for us to re-release one of our older fits that we just felt like where were you guys 6 years ago? We had a 501 repro cut, the CS, and I would say every 3 Instagram posts, it will be about something else, but someone will be like, "When's the CS coming?" But those are, you know, 2 very, very different jeans. And if you're talking about a Japanese brand, if they make a 501 cut, they are not making a slimmer tapered jean. But we have customers that wear them differently. So that's pretty cool for sure.
Awesome. So I think we have time for one more question. And I want to open it up to anybody who's been sitting on a question or has a just.
We could go longer if you know, I don't want to hold you up from the next meeting, but if you've been holding on, let's go. Spit them out.
Hello.
Hey.
Yes.
Hello.
Hey, it's Luis from the Bay Area.
What's up?
Hey, for something a little bit different, are you guys excited about the NBA possibly starting up again?
True.
If it's safe, you know, if it's safe to do so, I don't know. Part of me feels bad, like thinking about stuff that's not as quote unquote important when the world is on fire. But I also realize that we need to have small joys too. You know, like we need things that will, you know, and that like Johan said before, like we have to be able to find positives in the midst of difficulty. And I've been experiencing the same thing with having kids around all the time, all day, every day. So yeah, I am a
Where are the Nets at?
I am
Andrew's
a
Nets
New
fan.
Jersey Nets fan. I want everybody to know that I've suffered through immense embarrassment over the years. And so yeah, the whole conversation there was just like, might KD come back? You know, if everything is pushed back, but all indications say that they will not mortgage the future for that.
What's their current seating?
I think they're 8. They were floating like between 7 and 8 because Kyrie never really plugged in with everyone else. People say last year's team was more fun to watch, and I kind of agree. We have a higher ceiling with Kyrie for sure, but last year's team played like a unit and they had a lot of fun together, and that magic was kind of gone. But all that being said, yes, if there's a safe way to do it, then yeah, I would watch the hell out of some basketball for sure.
Who's the coach
I'm interested to
for the
see.
Nets?
Oh, sorry, say again?
Who's the coach?
Oh God.
Did Atkinson
Yeah,
get
because they fired.
Yeah. It's Jacques Vaughn for now.
Oh yeah, temporarily Jacques Vaughn.
Dude, that felt like a lifetime ago. Oh my goodness. They did him dirty. I like
It would have been nice to have some basketball to watch during these many months at home. Something live. But yeah, I've been listening to podcasts about how they are the different ideas of how they might implement restarting the season. It'll be interesting to see if they go with an idea that's a little bit more foreign. They're throwing around a World Cup group idea. They're throwing around the 1 through 16 seeding idea. So it'll be, the thing that I think will be the most strange is playing in an empty arena and how that will affect the play. I think the play in general first round is not going to be that great. But also, like, it's hard to measure how much these guys feed off of the crowd. And if someone makes an amazing play and there's no reaction, then there's almost like no immediate gratification for it. There's no like feedback. And I think it's going to be strange. I wonder if they're going to pipe in noise. They're talking about piping in like fake crowd noise.
I heard that they're going to allow
really
the
strange
families to be in the stands, which will be kind of nice.
So one idea that I came up with in the shower maybe is that they should have all the other players from the other teams in the stands and film their reactions. So like if you have 16 teams in a bubble, this is like AAU or like you know, your tournament weekend, the other teams stay and watch. So you have your 1-8 matchup, but all the other teams are in the stands watching. I think that would be compelling to see like how the players are actually reacting to the play on the floor. But they're getting close. I think they're going to come out with an announcement next week, and they're going to do it in Orlando, probably in a bubble. The biggest hurdle is if a star tests positive for the virus, like before tip off, and it's a playoff game, what are they going to cancel the game? Are they going to postpone the game? Are they going to have him quarantined for 14 days and just him, or everybody that he came in contact with, or the rest of the team is now out? It's just like the logistics of it seem crazy.
Agreed. Thank you for answering the question.
Yeah.
Come on, we're way past my bedtime. We'll do one more if anybody has one. No? Okay. Thank you guys very, very much for giving us your Saturday evenings. We had a lot of fun. This hour honestly flew by. We're around. You can hit any of us up anytime. Our emails are pretty easy to guess. So yeah, hope
IG handles.
Yeah, or hit us on Instagram. Yeah, hope you guys enjoy some of the other sessions that are going on today. I'm going to sleep. So
thanks everyone. Stay safe. Stay healthy.
Yes. Thanks everyone. Have a good night, all right?
See you guys.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Rob.
All right.